Egypt has been one of the most popular archaeological sites ever, and even after many discoveries, it has numerous more hidden. Every new discovery defines a new history and signifies many more things to be uncovered. With that, some more discoveries were made that have left people speechless. So let's dive into today's video to know the shocking discoveries and the hidden history they shed light on. But before we begin, if you consider yourself interested in ancient discoveries, we have an exciting question for you to answer. When was the ancient Egyptian civilization formed? Watch till the end and answer in the comment section below. Gold Tongue Mummies. The location of the Gold Tongue Mummies is an ancient cemetery in Khufu, Egypt. The necropolis is located approximately 40 miles north of Cairo. The discoveries were made between 300 BCE and 640 CE. According to Egypt's Supreme Council for Archaeology, this is also an extension of the cemetery that housed various archaeological tombs. The gold chips in the mummies' mouths are deteriorating. Someone removed the tongues and replaced them with gold foil pieces shaped like human tongues at some point. In addition, the gold chips were shaped like lotus flowers and scarabs. This ritual should allow the deceased to address the court of Osiris. In ancient Egypt, Osiris judged the dead and the underworld. Similarly, similar discoveries occurred in Western Alexandria atop Osiris Magna. It translates as Osiris's Great Tomb. Wooden coffins, copper nails, and burials were also discovered by archaeologists. They also discovered the remains of additional burying materials. Glue and tar are two possibilities. The discovery of Khufu occurred in 1989. Since then, researchers have discovered evidence that the necropolis was used thrice. As archaeologists combed through several strata, they discovered shifts in burial practices. As a result, there were several burial directions and body placements. They knew this because different burial practices have been documented at various levels of the site. 100-ton sarcophagi. The burial site of the so-called Apis bulls, sacred bulls who were incarnations of the ancient Egyptian deity Ptah, is northwest of the Djoser Pyramid at Saqqara. The ancient Egyptians believed that the bulls were immortal after death. Because these bulls were so important in ancient Egypt, a burial site of equal significance was built thousands of years ago. The worship of an Apis bull, which ancient Egyptians considered holy, dates back to the first dynasty in Memphis. In contrast, Apis worship as a proper god appears to be a later adoption, beginning during the reign of King Kahekos of the Second Dynasty, according to Manetho's Aegyptiaca. Most of the burials at the Serapeum are traced back to Amenhotep III's reign as the 9th pharaoh of the 18th dynasty in the 1350s BC. The massive stone boxes, the burial sarcophagi of the Apis bulls, weigh a staggering 100 tons in this ancient labyrinth beneath the surface. The lid alone weighs an incredible 30 tons. Scholars debate how the boxes were designed and polished using primitive tools and transported without using technology such as the wheel. But is that correct? The bull theory is a bull theory. Researchers have yet to fully understand or explain how or why the 24 massive sarcophagi were transported to the site and installed in their notches since the Serapeum was rediscovered in modern times in 1850. Strabo, a Greek geographer who visited Egypt around 24 AD, was the first to discover the underground chambers, and ever since the mysterious underground chambers were discovered, anyone who has studied their contents has been filled with admiration and fascination. Surprisingly, the massive sarcophagi within the Serapeum were constructed with granite, rose granite, and limestone. This is unusual because limestone is a much easier material to work with and manipulate. Other boxes inside the Serapeum were made of an even harder material, diorite, discovered even further away from Saqqara. Third, and most importantly, if the alleged sarcophagi were indeed crafted and built to house the sacred bull's remains, why are there no traces of bulls inside the boxes? The mystery is unsolved. Ancient Pharaoh King Khufu's boat. King Khufu's boat, one of the oldest, largest, and best-preserved vessels from antiquity, was removed from its long-standing home next to the Giza pyramids and transported to a massive museum in Egypt. The solar boat, a 4,600-year-old vessel, was relocated to the nearby Grand Egyptian Museum, which is set to open later this year. The cedarwood boat, 42 meters long and weighing 20 tons, took 48 hours to transport to its new home. According to Atif Muftah, supervisor general of the GEM project, the boat was transported as a single piece inside a metal cage carried on a remote-controlled vehicle imported specifically for the operation. King Khufu was the second pharaoh of the 4th dynasty, reigning during the first half of the Old Kingdom period. The vessel, discovered at the southern corner of Pharaoh Khufu's Great Pyramid in 1954, has been displayed for decades at a museum named after it on the Giza Plateau. Egypt claims that the Grand Egyptian Museum, which has been under construction for 17 years, will house more than 100,000 artifacts when it opens. The Screaming Mummy. The Screaming Woman Mummy is a mummy with signs of pain, terror, and screaming on her face. Her head is tilted to the right, and her legs are bent and wrapped at the ankle, whereas the other mummies are close-mouthed and upright. So what is the story behind the Screaming Woman Mummy? After studies, it was proven that the woman screaming mummy is referred to as the royal daughter, the royal sister Meritamen, in hieratic writings on linen scrolls. The mummy was labeled the Mummy of the Unknown Woman because there were many princesses with the same name. The CT scan results indicate that the screaming mummy is of a woman who passed away in her 60s and that her body received great care from the mummifiers who removed her viscera and inserted expensive materials such as resin and scents in her body cavity, wrapping the mummy in pure linen. According to computer tomography results, the unknown woman's mummy was infected with severe atherosclerosis, which affected many arteries throughout the body. Atherosclerosis is a degenerative disease affecting the arterial wall progressively, narrowing the cavity and blocking the blood vessels. A CT scan can detect arterial sclerosis as areas of high calcification within the arterial walls, which can be identified based on the location of the artery. The heart attack was recognized and associated with death in ancient Egyptian medicine. For example, Ebers, an ancient Egyptian medicine papyrus, described a doctor over 3,500 years ago who examined a man suffering from stomach pains and pain in his arm and chest. A CT scan of the mummy of an unknown woman revealed stiffness in the right and left coronary arteries, the neck arteries, the abdominal and iliac aorta, and the arteries of the lower extremities and legs. Furthermore, the study assumes that the princess died suddenly of a heart attack, with her legs bent and wrapped at the ankle. Death caused the head to tilt to the right and the jaw muscles to relax, allowing the mouth to open. Ancient Greek shipwreck loaded with treasures. A shipwreck containing ancient Greek treasures from Egypt's Ptolemaic era was discovered recently in the waters off Alexandria. The shipwreck is situated in the Bay of Abukir, in the lost ancient city of Heraklion, or Thonis, that was sunken near Alexandria and dates from the waning days of the pharaohs when the Greek civilization relished great influence in Egypt. According to Godayo, the ship sank after being hit by massive blocks from the Temple of Amun, which was completely destroyed during the cataclysmic event in the 2nd century BC. When the disaster occurred, the ship was moored at a wharf in the canal along the temple's south face. Unfortunately, the fallen blocks pinned the ancient Greek shipwreck to the bottom of the deep canal, filled with clay and sanctuary debris. As a result, the shipwreck is buried beneath 5 meters of hard clay and the temple's ruins. The ancient Greek ship was discovered almost miraculously using a cutting-edge sonar prototype known as a sub-bottom profiler. Hellenistic ships of this type were completely unknown to archaeologists before this discovery. Their preliminary research indicates that the hull of this galley was constructed in the classical tradition, with long mortise and tenon joints and a well-developed internal structure. However, it also contains elements of ancient Egyptian construction, allowing us to speak of a mixed type of construction. It was a rowing ship equipped with a large sail, as evidenced by a substantial mast step. This longboat had a flat bottom and a flat keel, which was useful for navigating on the Nile and in the Delta. So what do you think of these terrifying and shocking discoveries of Egypt? Let us know in the comments below. And the answer to the question we've asked is that ancient Egyptian civilization dates back to the 4th millennium BCE. Stay tuned for more.